Hey everybody, it's Matt here with Deer and Donuts, and you already know from the title what we're going to talk about today, and that's hunting boots. And I want to start by asking you, stop the video, jump on down. It's getting to be everyone's favorite time of year. Elk season's firing off, deer season's coming. I want you to tell me what boots you're rocking with this fall and what's going to get you through all your various hunts. I've learned there's a lot of really smart people on this channel, and I'm always open to new ideas and new suggestions on some gear, so let me know what you're rocking with. Now, when we're talking about hunting boots, I'll acknowledge that there are a ton of different types out there. Whitetail hunters, I want to acknowledge that you rock your rubber boots and pack boots all fall along to the stand. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be much for you. This is going to be mostly about Western hunting boots. Now, when I'm talking about Western hunting boots, there are four main components that come to mind when I'm trying to pick what boot I want to use. Now, obviously you got to pick the boot that fits best for your foot, but that's the same with any boot. So we're not really going to talk a ton about that because that is going to be very unique to you, and that is going to be the number one factor in picking a boot. But beyond that, you got to pick a height, how stiff you want that sole to be, whether you want it to be insulated, and if so, how much, and whether you want it to be waterproof. And those all have pros and cons that we're going to dive into in this video. So let's start with the height of the boot. And when I talk about that, I'm talking how high up it goes on your ankle. Now, I've seen a lot where trail runners are becoming super popular in early season elk, deer season down here in Arizona, things of that nature where it's a little bit warmer, because the boots are a little bit lighter and they're going to be a little bit more like a tennis shoe, let you move over obstacles and stuff a little bit more like you're used to in your gym shoes. For me though, I like rocking a little bit taller boot. The advantage of going with the taller boot is that it gives you a little bit more ankle support. I'm going to acknowledge I'm a clumsy guy. Tom and I actually have a competition to see who falls down more in each one of our hunts. And usually I'm the winner, which I guess that makes me the loser. But either way, I like to have a little bit more ankle support so that if I fall, I'm not busting an ankle 3 miles deep and having to spend thousands of dollars to get me out. Again, that's a decision you're going to have to make on where you want the height. Typically, the taller the boot, it is going to weigh a little bit more. So you got to really play that game of how tall do you want it to be. These are 8-inch boots. I think they're actually like 7.5. But I've seen ones that go all the way up to 10 and 12 inches. Or like I said, you can rock that trail runner that's going to be exactly like a tennis shoe. So now let's talk about the stiffness of the boot. Crispy rates theirs on a scale of 1 to 5. Most companies do. I think these altitudes are like a 2.5. It's about a mid-range. But to me, the stiffness of the boot is very terrain dependent and also based on your personality. If you're doing hunts like I do in Arizona where you're going over rocks and stuff like that and there's almost no trees, there's no mud, anything like that, I probably want a slightly stiffer boot because stepping on those rocks over the course of the entire day and just that pounding really wears on the bottom of your foot. Whereas if you're in Montana doing a spring bear hunt like we did this year, you might want something a little bit less stiff. That's going to have to be a decision you have to make. Also, you're going to have to make a decision how much you want to protect your foot versus how much you want to feel the ground beneath you. That's really something that plays in on that stiffness of boot. So now let's dive into insulation. I've seen anything from uninsulated, like these boots are, all the way up to 2,000 grams of insulation like the pack boots the whitetail hunters rock. And to be honest, there's no wrong answer in there. It's going to be completely up to you and on how cold your feet get and how easy they get cold versus how warm you want them to be. Now for me, I use uninsulated boots for all my Western hunting, but that's my personal choice. If it gets cold, I'm just going to throw on another layer of socks. But they make ones in 400 grams of insulate, 800, 1200, typically 400 increments, all the way up to that 2000. Just be careful. If you get too warm, it kind of limits what you can use that boot for. You probably don't want a 1200 gram of insulation boot for elk hunting archery in the middle of September. So like I said, that's kind of why I go with uninsulated. But if you're doing purely rifle mule deer hunts in Wyoming in the middle of November, I don't know if that's a season for them, I'll be honest. You probably want something with insulation. So it's going to be very dependent on what your hunts are. Let's just touch on the final factor of picking a good Western boot. And that's whether you want it to be waterproof or not. Now, in the past, waterproof membranes have gotten a really bad reputation on being not very breathable, which is going to ruin your hunt real quick. You don't want your foot to get moist. It really messes up your day. In my opinion, though, they've gotten a lot better lately. They're still not quite as breathable, but that's a decision that you'll have to make if you want it to be a run and gun style boot where you're doing a trail runner or something like that. Maybe you ditch the waterproof membrane. For me, I like having them. It's just a peace of mind of knowing I can do stream crossings if I get caught in the rain, something like that. My foot's not going to get soaked. But that's my opinion. Doesn't have to be yours. Now, as always here at Deer and Donuts, we like numbers. So I've seen prices, which is a big number to most people, on hunting boots running anywhere from like $60 in a bargain basement bin all the way up to $500 in some of your really expensive like Kenetrex and stuff like that. There's no wrong answer. Boots are worth their weight in gold. To me, that's the quickest way to ruin your hunt. You start getting blisters, you start getting sore feet, something like that. It's really going to slow you down and it's going to make you completely ineffective. So whatever you find that works for your foot, don't be afraid to spend that money. Now, I hope you guys learned a little bit today. I hope this helps you make a selection in your boot for this fall if you haven't already. Like I said, if you have, jump down, let me know what it is. As always, we appreciate you stopping by. Jump on down, hit that subscribe if you could. We're going to do another giveaway at 250 subscribers, which we're coming up on really quick. But for now, that's the end of this video. I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.